Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Prince Automation Destination. First of all, I would like to thank you for the kind of support that you are giving to me and the kind of trust you are showing into me. It really motivates me to create more such useful content for you people. And so today we are going to talk about another interesting topic, that is OPS concepts from the interview perspective in the test automation interviews. So when you are fresher in the test automation industry, people will generally ask you what is polymorphism. But when you will grow into your career, people won't ask you the direct questions. Instead, they will ask questions like where exactly you have implemented the Java OPS concepts, such as you have implemented encapsulation, polymorphism, right? What are the OPS concepts you have implemented? And they might ask you the real-time examples as well, where exactly the OPS concepts are implemented. Okay, so in Java we have actually OPS concepts, and I'm considering that you are aware on, like, in Java we have OPS concepts, right? So today we are going to discuss about one such concept, that is polymorphism. And in polymorphism we will try to discuss overloading as well as overriding, and I'll try to demonstrate it from the test automation framework perspective. Okay, so before we move on, I am considering and I am assuming that you are aware on class and object. So then I'm considering that you are aware on inheritance as well, because in method overriding we are going to discuss about that. So in case you want a separate video in on class and object as well as inheritance, I'll create a separate video as well based on the demand. Okay, or based on the need. So let us try to understand what is polymorphism. Let us try to understand it from the, like, real-time example. Suppose you want to travel from New Delhi to New York, right? So from New Delhi to New York, you can go by flight, right? Okay. So so there are, like, multiple options going from New Delhi to, like, uh, New York, I mean, right? So one way is you can go from New Delhi to Dubai, and Dubai to New York, right? Likewise, you can go from New Delhi to Germany and Germany to then New York, right? So when we are trying to perform the same action but in multiple ways, this is known as polymorphism. Okay, so similar concept is implemented in Java as well. So in Java, we have two type of polymorphism. One is method overloading and another is method overriding. So we will dive deep into all these concepts. So what is polymorphism, right? Polymorphism, as I mentioned, single action can be performed in multiple ways. So as I take an example of traveling from New Delhi to New York, so we can go it in multiple ways, go by multiple ways, right? So we are performing the single action, that is traveling from New Delhi to New York, but we are doing it in multiple ways, right? This is a polymorphism. In Java, we have first method overloading. So this is one area where the polymorphism is implemented. And then there is a second area, method overriding, where also the polymorphism is implemented, right? So what is method overloading? So when we say method overloading, or we can say method, like, this is a compile time polymorphism, right? So when we what exactly we are trying to achieve here using the polymorphism. Suppose we want to perform a method, or we want to perform some operation, but they are like multiple ways. For example, we want to achieve sum of two numbers, so we would need to pass two variables. In case we want to achieve sum of three numbers, we will pass three. So here the method name would be sum, because sum is the action, right? but we are doing it in different ways. So in this case, I'll have two methods, one with two arguments, int a comma int b, and likewise for three arguments it would be int a comma int b comma int c, right? So these are like same methods but having different arguments. So let us try to read this statement. So methods with same name in a class but different number or type of argument in the same class. So it is actually related to same class, methods of the same class. Okay, while method overriding is related to superclass and um, subclass, or we can say parent class and child class. So let us first focus on method overloading, right? So as I mentioned, methods with same name in a class but with different number or different type of argument, right? So it is also known as compile time polymorphism. Why it is known as, we will try to understand that, right? So I'm taking an example of page object model. As I mentioned that I'll be covering it from the test automation perspective, and we are generally asked like tell us from the automation perspective, right? Now, for example, we have one login page on the web application. Corresponding to that, what we have done, we have created one login page. So in this login page, I have created one click method where I can perform click, right? So if you will observe, so this is one click method, right? And you see that here I'm passing a single argument, that is web element, and I can simply perform element dot click, right? Similarly, suppose I'm unable to perform the operation using the normal click, and like let us say I want to perform it using JavaScript executor. So in that case, what I will do, I will pass WebDriver as well as element, right? So in this case, when I'm passing WebDriver and element, so you see that the name of the method, this click and this click are same, but the argument number of arguments are different. So in this case it is 1, it is 2, right? So this is one difference, right? Then there can be change in the sequence of arguments. So in this case it is WebDriver and web element, and this is web element is first, WebDriver is second. So I have changed the order, right? So all three methods, all these methods are nothing but overloaded method. So click are overloaded method here, right? So we are trying to perform a click operation, right? But in a multiple ways depending on the need, right? Okay. So this is what is polymorphism, or what is method overloading. Why it is known as compile time polymorphism? Because for example, if we will create the object of this login page, and if we will click call click and we will provide only element, it compiler is aware that I need to call this particular method. And in case we like call click with driver and element, then compiler would be aware that this is the method I need to call. If I, for example, perform like call the in click method but in reverse order, I pass the element first and then driver second, so it will call this one. So compiler would be aware that I need to call these elements, these methods, I mean, right? So that's why it is known as compile time polymorphism. So let us try to understand it from the framework side. Okay, so let me quickly explain me the framework that I am using, because we will be using it for the rest of the OPS concepts as well. So we are using a BDD Cucumber framework. For this, we have already created a series on step by step. It is actually for the absolute beginners as well, which can help anyone to understand BDD from scratch, right? So we have feature files wherein we have login.feature, and I have created a separate method overloading.feature, right? In this particular example, I'm using a source demo application. This is one of the application which has these credentials: standard user and secret source. And what I'm doing, I'm simply clicking on login and verifying a label there on the dashboard page, right? So now, corresponding to this, we have a step definitions as well. So I have login step def because we are dealing with login here. Then after, we have page object model where we have defined login page. Okay, so I have elements defined here: username, password, login button, right? Okay, so To run these things, I have my BDD Cucumber framework integrated with TestNG, right? Where I'm providing the location of feature file, step definitions, location, hooks, where I have, right? In case you want to understand, if you're not aware on BDD Cucumber, then I would recommend you to please go to that area, right? Then method overloading example is the tag. So this is the tag I have provided because I want to run this test case, right? So in this case, what we are trying to do, validate login functionality with login credentials. User has launched the URL. In this, we are launching the URL. In this, we are entering the username and password. Then after, we are clicking on login, right? So by default, what we are doing, so what we have done, for example, because when we performed user has entered username and password, this operation, so at that time what we are doing nothing, we are creating the object of login page. So let me go up. So I have defined one private member login page class reference variable, that is login page. Then after, when we are coming to this particular method, this particular line from Gherkin, during the execution, I'm creating the driver like login page object and assigning it to this, right? Assigning it to this particular login page variable. Now I'm getting the username and getting password, and then after I'm performing username and password, right? So in this case, what I'm doing, because this login is already called, so it would have called driver, right? So when it would have called driver, it would have initialized all these elements, right? Right now, so what I'm doing in this case is I'm simply calling login page, the object which is already created in the previous step. Then I'm like calling the login button object element, I mean, right? Because it got initialized in the previous step by passing this driver, and then I'm performing click. So it is nothing but this is selenium click, right? Now, for example, so this using this also I can perform the click operation, right? Now I am going to write the overloaded method. So what do we do in the page object model? We write the elements in the page and we write the corresponding action. So as per the example that we have discussed, we will simply create this method, right? Public void click, right? And web element, right? So now if I, for example, go to this login step def, what I can do, because we have already created object of login page, I'll simply use login page dot click. Now I will start saying that this is the click operation that I need to perform, right? Okay, now for example, I want to have second option as well, overloaded method. So I will simply go to login page. Let us say in this case I have written element dot click as per this diagram, right? Now for example, we want to perform second, we want to create, because suppose a normal click doesn't work, so what do we want is we want the overloaded method, alternative way, right? Web element, right? And then after, what I will do, I will simply create JSC, and I'll typecast it, because this is the interface at the same level as WebDriver, so I'm casting it. Now I can use JSC dot execute script method, wherein what we will do, arguments of 0 dot click, and this is the operation that we are performing, and we need to pass element as well, right? So we defined web element, but we didn't define the variable. So comma element, right? And let me cross verify. So this is what we have written, arguments of 0 dot click. So whatever element we are passing, it will be passed to this 0, so it will become element and it will then perform click, right? So I have replicated the same. So you see that within this login page, now I have two methods with same name but with different number of arguments. Now for example, if I'll go to login step dev, so what I can do, I can simply go here, and for example, I don't want to use this. Instead, I want to perform login page dot click, and in this case, I'll simply pass the element. Okay. Now, for example, if I want to run this particular test case, I'll simply pick this tag, which I have already done. I'm just showing you. I'm going to UI test runner and I'll provide here, and I'll right click on this and we'll perform the execution. So let us see the execution. So we'll see that the application will launch and it will log in, and it has logged in successfully, right? Otherwise we would have got assertion exception, right? Now this is one way we have achieved like a click operation. Then we can do it in the second way as well, right? How to do that? So in that case, what do we need? We can login page dot click operation, right? And this one, this time I will pass driver, and I'll pass login page dot login button, right? Similar to what we did previously, right? But in this case I'm passing driver as well as login button, right? So if I will now again execute the test case, I'll see that I'll be able to perform the operation again. So it is able to log in and we are able to perform the execution. So this is what I wanted to demonstrate, like how to implement the method overloading in your like framework, right? So within the page object model, when there is a need of creating the same methods and but in different ways. So for example, sometimes we can perform direct click, and sometimes we would need to perform it through JavaScript executor, and sometimes, for example, element is not visible and we need to scroll as well. So we can likewise add and add new method as well, and we can write that particular functionality, right? So this way uh, we can overload these methods. So this click and this click, these are just overloaded method, and this concept is known as method overloading, and this is how we can implement the method overloading in the page object model. So in the next lecture we will discuss about what is method overriding and how to achieve the method overriding. And in case you want to learn about BTT Cucumber, I'll be sharing the link of same in the description section, and it will help you gain very good understanding on how to implement your framework in the BTT Cucumber. So thank you once again for watching my video. Please do share, like and subscribe. Thank you once again.